Good evening. Welcome to From This Corner TV. I'm your hostess, Marilyn Dayton. I usually say host. I'm going to say hostess from now on. So tonight we've got a really great show for you. We've got some very special guests. You're going to recognize one of them with her return visit. But we are all members of the Southeastern Connecticut Women's Network. And this is a very interesting organization for many reasons, not just because of the membership, which is powerful ladies. You can feel the power in the room when we meet, but also the history and why it was formed, and the organization that we help and we kind of partner with, which is a wonderful thing. So tonight we have with us, we have Millie Divine, and Millie is the founder of Southeastern Connecticut Women's Network. And we're going to hear her interesting story about the history. And we also have Kathleen O'Breine, who she does a lot of things, actually, has done a lot of things with the network, past president, and also she gives out a Heron Award. And I want to make sure we get a little bit about that in there, too. Good. And then we have Emma Palzere-Rae back with us. I think this is your third visit or something like that, from Safe Futures. So welcome, ladies. And I'm going to start with Millie, okay? Because Millie, you are the one that we have to thank for this wonderful organization. Why did you form it? And when?
Let me give you a little background as to what was going on in that period. And we're talking approximately 38 years ago. I mean, it was a while ago.
You wouldn't remember that, honey.
But we couldn't join, women could not join the Thames Club, the women could not join Rotary, the women could not join a wide variety of organizations. We did have women's service organizations such as Seroptimist and Zonta, Alta, some of those, but most of those had to meet in the evening when our married women had to be home and providing dinner and taking care of the children and all of that. So, you know, it was a problem for me not being able to join the Thames Club because it was an all-male club. It was just across the street from the bank. And everybody that went there solved all the problems of the world over lunch and met with all their interaction with their centers of influence and, you know, attorneys, accountants. I'm a trust officer by career. And so it was important to interact with all these people, investment managers, different people. So my boss used to tease me all the time about getting out there. This was back in the mid-70s, 1976 when we started this. And this was the time for women's liberation, bra burning, all that kind of stuff that was going on, which was not my style. I tend to be a little more laid back than that. But anyhow, he would come back from the club and he'd say, well, you need to get your placard and march up and down State Street in front of the Thames Club. And, you know, and I'm like, you know, and I just kind of laughed it off and, you know, this kind of thing. Well, one day he got my Irish up because he teased me once too often. I made patient just so long, and then all of a sudden it kind of fizzles to the top. And so he said, well, you know, you should do something. And I said, well, I don't want this to be in the club. I'm not looking to get into the Thames Club. I'm looking for something the same thing as or better than. And that kind of stopped him in his tracks, and he said, well, if that's what you want, then maybe you better start it yourself. That's a good idea. So I connected with other women attorneys. There weren't that many in the area at the time. And so we started off, you know, 2 or 3 of us getting together, and each time we would bring more women. And by the time we got to be about 40 in the area, we decided maybe it's time to organize the informality of this kind of thing. So we did, and that's how we established the name, and we got it going and all of that. And then it led into, because Women's Center was starting right about the same time, which is now known as Safe Futures, and a lot of our members overlapped. and we're on both boards and interacting. So we, as a network, decided to adopt the Women's Center as our pet project. So we've been partners really from the very, very beginning, and it's been very exciting.
Yeah.
And now a membership of 180.
I know,
Is our
and
yes.
the diverse
Yes.
vocations that are involved.
Oh, incredible.
There are a lot of them that didn't even exist back in the 70s for women.
For anybody.
Well, that's true. That's true. Very true. Very true.
The reason Kathleen said now we are at 180 is because we had a luncheon yesterday and got the official count of our membership, 180 powerful women.
A few powerful, wise men.
A few,
Because
that's
they've
right. I should-
discovered
yes.
that it pays to be a part of, to be the minority and to be connected to what clearly are movers and shakers.
Absolutely.
But we're not totally women, and we should make that clear, I think.
Yes, yes. My error.
But the name is Women's Network,
That's true.
so
Yeah.
it takes a courageous
Well,
man.
at the time of our 30th anniversary, we did the Her Story, take off on history, but her story, and talked about the founding of the organization and all of that. And I remember Bruce.
Oh, Bruce the realtor.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
Bruce, I know
exactly.
him,
And he
yeah.
talked about being part of this group and how it felt to him to be a minority. And we thought, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, here we've had to battle that all along the line kind of thing. So it was very interesting. And we did that Her Story at that time. It's been updated since, which is very exciting. And it's available to share with folks. And I know I've used it in presentations at Rotary and different places to let people know what the Women's Network is really about.
And I believe it's available on the website too. You can
I believe
see it
so.
on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago you presented it at a Connecticut history conference that I also happened to be at, right? Which is very interesting because there was a session on women and work. And one of those talks was on telegraph operators, and Millie talked and showed the video. So I forget what the third one was. Something else having to do with
Wow.
marine jobs or something. Yeah.
That was a fascinating
Yeah.
conference.
So you're part of Connecticut history now.
Oh, yes. Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
We are. We
Yeah.
all are.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're continuing to make history every day.
Yes.
Millie, what are some of the things that you've seen that are the biggest changes in the organization since you started it 38
Well,
years
obviously,
ago?
the admittance of men, and which
Yeah.
took a good number of years before that happened.
Yes.
But our mission basically has not changed, except it's benefiting people rather than specifically just women. Obviously, the reason you folks changed your name as well. And I think back in the history, I think of times when some of the people had very strong personalities and were very more the women's lib type thing and really demanding, and I kind of saw it going a little bit in a little different direction than what I had envisioned, because I really see this. I mean, let's share the mission of our organization. And if I
Absolutely.
can just make sure we get it right here, I wrote it out. To provide its members with the opportunity to meet other professional and business people, to communicate and exchange general and career information, to promote personal visibility and sense of community, and to develop a constituency for the purpose of examining and speaking out on issues of concern to the membership. So, and that really has not changed from the very beginning. Although, as I said, we did see it, someone try to take it in a little different direction, but it got back on course, and I'm very proud of my baby.
And
Well,
you should
Millie,
be.
I think one of the big changes was that in the early 90s, when I came back to the area having been away, it was a group that pretty much wanted to have one person from any given business or bank or realty firm, and preferably the more senior member of the organization. And at the same time, as part of an outreach, Women's Network was doing monthly programs at the Groton Public Library on job search and resume writing and dressing for the interview, because the economy in this area was very difficult. People who didn't have a job would find that their resume was part of 400 others that went typically to somebody who was looking for an admin assistant and couldn't begin to handle the influx of all these requests for interview. Or they were people who were kind of locked into a job and didn't dare be viewed as somebody who was looking to, you know, slip ship. And so we put on a program once a month at the library in the evening, open to men and women, and we saw both. And people who were in the network who had expertise in resume writing and job creation and just all sorts of different aspects would give their time to be the program for that particular month. And I can remember personally, I was at the Navy Family Service Center at the subbase at that time, and the comptroller, God bless him, in August said to me, hey, you know, I have both money and billets, and you have to have both in the federal government, to enable you to hire 9 family support professionals, new parent support professionals. And he said, if you can do that before the end of September, you can have them as long as I don't need the money or need the billet. So if you promise to let go when you have to. And I thought to myself, 9? We had a waiting list of 600 people wanting that service and to be given that gift. And I thought, where am I going to find 9? It had taken me 9 months, which we all thought was symbolic, to get our 3rd member of that team. Well, lo and behold, there was a women's network at the library that evening. I found 3 people there that evening out of the 9 that were potential. I mean, it was, so for me as an employer, it was a godsend. And that's the part we kind of forget, that our own members can post, I'm looking for a whatever on the whiteboard.
That's right.
They don't have to go through the newspaper and get an onslaught of varied pieces. They can see the person right there and make a decision that, yeah, you know, I think we ought to follow up on this a little bit. So it's of a benefit to those seeking jobs as well as those who are looking to fill out their staff a little bit. And that's another point for Women's Network. A lot of our people today, one of the big changes, I think, is that as we've expanded the number to 180, it would be interesting to see if maybe about half of those, at least, are sole proprietors. They are entrepreneurs who have established a niche business. And so what they get out of network is not only the wonderful personal friendships with women who have some of the same DNA that they do, but they also meet people who, as their business expands just a little bit more and a little bit more, they now can hire a part-time bookkeeping service, or they can hire a part-time PR expert to get them up and get that website going and get their marketing materials ready, so that they can do what it is that they know how to do best, which is their niche piece. And so without having to add permanent staff to their business, they can do this piecemeal and get the best expertise in each of those pieces.
Exactly.
And I hear a lot of members talk about, you know, if they work alone, that one day a month is when they can go out and be with a lot of people for lunch, which they don't get to do too often. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know something, to piggyback on your comment, when I'm looking for help, or if I'm looking to refer someone to someone that is looking for help, I get out my book. This is my guide. This is our membership directory, and it's updated every year. And it's got some very, very talented, intelligent, capable people in it. And I have quite a few of our members have done the same thing. We reach for this before we look anywhere else because usually 9 out of 10 times that's as far as you need to go, and you're getting the kind of talent and expertise that you need.
And it isn't just for professional pieces. For example, if you need home repair, we've got gals who own their own business and do that work specifically. Do you need landscaping? We've got a number of members who are in that end of the world. And you look there and think, oh yeah, I remember meeting her. And, or just the mere fact that she's here. And oh, by the way, you can put an ad in this wonderful little directory for all of $50 for a half a page or $100 for a whole page. Where else can you possibly have year-long advertising for in a spot that people go to frequently? I just flipped past, you know, printers, or there are a couple of wonderful printers who are part of our women's network, and Say Futures has a whole page here, so we can find you quickly. And people who run B&Bs and just all sorts of interesting possibilities.
And you know, we do have accountants, we have insurance agents, we even have a wordsmith, a woman who is an expert at words. And as a matter of fact, she's going to come on the show in the future. We're going to talk about the power of words, and that's going to be very interesting.
And I think our membership renewal form also gives you an opportunity to put your second business, just recognizing that so many members have maybe work somewhere and then have a business of their own, or are juggling two businesses that they do on their own.
A lot of us are.
So you get a lot of.
You're a classic example of that, Emma. Emma is not only a Say Futures, but she's also an actress. That you're looking at Harriet Beecher Stowe.
That's right. We have a historical figure beyond 38 years.
But I think that's more common than not, probably, with members.
You know, the true power of these women is not just the warm, fuzzy feeling you get every month when we're seeing each other. We get hugs, and it's true spirit of fellowship. But it's also the fact that, yes, our women are just so freaking talented that are members of this, that they do have several interests. Many of them are involved out in the community as well as working for a day job or have their own business. We all believe in the power of giving back and giving to each other, helping one another, which is why there's such a wonderful connection here.
Well, and think about some of the programs that we've done in the network to help Say Futures, so the Women's Center over time, where we've brought in fresh produce. And I remember one of the former directors commenting about there was a young boy who had never seen a banana until the bananas came in as part of the fresh produce. And you say, you know, it's just so amazing, it's so heart-wrenching to realize how much you've been able to help somebody in some little way. You know, it's all these little acts of kindness, and I know I often quote my dear friend Henry Salmon, who just says it's a mitzvah. You know, you know, we're not looking for thanks, not looking for recognition. It's an act of kindness, and that's what it's all about.
Well, you know, I think even about yesterday, we were blessed with Nikisha Sales as a spokesperson for our program. Totally a different kind of speaker from usual. But you know, I ended up sitting next to her. I am not a basketball fan. Just there are other things I like to sing instead or whatever. But I watched her looking around the room and noted that when she talked, she said, you know, I usually don't talk to adults. I usually talk to young people and try to motivate them for the power of sports and the things that you can learn in addition to the game itself. But she was learning. She was learning yesterday, just even at the lunch table, as she heard us kidding one of our members who has a play coming up for kids. Camilla Ross has a play coming up that has married together The Emperor's New Clothes and Rumpelstiltskin. I've got to see this play.
Okay.
How do you do that? And so we were laughing about that and supporting her, and she was saying what the kids say, and then at some point saying, but I do make them take a nap in the afternoon. And I watched Nikisha kind of think, that might be a pretty good concept for something. She's a part of it. But she heard all this banter back and forth, and that kind of banter is what she loved about her own sport. And the piece that she also said, you know, that she hadn't been much of a person to speak of, that she would always try to hide behind the camera, or if she was being interviewed by a journalist or whatever, she'd just kind of mumble and not really give much of an answer, because she really didn't want to be put in the spotlight that way. Well, now she has discovered that she has a story to tell, and she's learning how to do that effectively. We force our new members to stand up and give their 30-second so-called elevator speech about their business. And 201, they will say, I hate this part. But you know what? That's part of our growth opportunity, that they learn how to stand up in front of a room of typically about 90 people at any given luncheon.
Use a microphone.
Use a microphone, learn how to be effective, learn what to wear when you're going to be up on that podium, and perhaps how to stand for your photograph. I mean, there are lots of lessons that are coming that are all part of that experience that you wouldn't write down anywhere as being one of the perks of being a member.
Absolutely.
Well, and there are also mentoring groups within the Women's Network.
Yes, yes.
And they tend to, from what I understand, have pretty much a different focus for each one.
Yeah. Kathleen has run one. What, four sessions?
Well,
is
we're
about
starting
already?
our
Or
fourth
this is the
session this
fourth?
fall.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been focused on creativity. It's been very creative in terms of what the topics are that we're going to cover. But for example, this fall, we're going to have a monthly for three months, looking at interpersonal skills, so how we relate to each other, and intrapersonal, do you know yourself very well, which is one of the pieces that, you know, we're so busy being socialized to watch and take care of other people that maybe we're not taking good care and being a healthy balance here. And so how you can kind of quickly understand who's who in the group that you're working with, and if you're hiring people, to be able to figure out pretty quickly who they are. I mean, it's one thing to read the resume, it's another thing to have that interpersonal you know, interchange. So we're going to do that. There's a group that works on mentoring, and there's a public speaking component to that, and writing. That's Leslie Hammond, and I think she's helping people learn how to write news releases and to do a variety of things that they haven't necessarily learned to do in the past as part of their business. And then I think there is one bona fide mastermind group still that follows the Napoleon Hill paradigm, where you have a variety of people, maybe 9 to 13 people, each of whom is a different profession. And so you coach each other and hold each other accountable about what you said you were going to do during the next month to enhance your business. And so that's very much more a business model. And just part of the reason we do that is because Malcolm Gladwell's book on the tipping point talks about when a group becomes larger than 150 people, that you really must have these small groups of 15 or under, or in addition, so that there's the more personal contact going on, because otherwise you're not getting as much glue as you really want to have if you're just arriving for lunch and sitting with a variety of people. So.
And there's
and I think you see that in the room, that you can almost tell, oh, that they're in a group together because they're greeting each other in a certain way, or it does build relationships deeper than people can do.
And there's the network at night too, which is another great component.
Yes.
Yeah.
And many people, I've heard many positive comments on that.
Yeah.
And
And that we're doing.
How does that work, Marilyn? Is it every...
It's just every other month, and it's a Monday evening, first Monday of the month, except for September, because it's a holiday, or when it's a holiday. It's hosted at a different member's business, or this past month, I think 3 or 4 members got together and decided to co-host it. So
Nice.
that really increased how many people came, because they were each reaching into their non-network member friends to invite them. And it's just social, and was added to have something in the evening for people who say, well, I can never come to all the lunches. So it's just a different atmosphere, wine and hors d'oeuvres, and the host gets to showcase their business a little bit. So
Nice.
those have been successful. Yeah.
And some of these things, I know I haven't been a member as long as you two have, of course. I think, what did I, in my little research since, did I write it down? Oh, since 2005. So I've been a member for 9 years. And I've seen so many changes through the years. I notice now it's so much easier to mix. Maybe it's me, I don't know, but it's just so much easier now to walk in the room and just reach out to people, especially the new ones, to welcome them, get to know them a little bit, and then of course enjoy the hugs and everything of people that you've missed seeing. And I've seen so many wonderful positive changes over the years that I've been a member.
I also think about the scholarship that we give. We give 3 scholarships to people returning to school, to college. And I think that, I remember again when we did Her Story, one of the students was recorded there.
Yeah.
And she was just so grateful. And I remember her even, when we presented the check to her for the scholarship, we got a thank you note, and included was a check. I think it was like $25 or whatever it was, but she wanted to give back.
Oh.
Yeah, just pretty
because she appreciated it so much, and you wanted to be able to help someone else. And it's just so heartwarming.
Well, the stories of the recipients, we do ask that they come to the meeting to receive their check and get a chance to sort of see who we are, but it gives us a chance to see who they are. And wow, the challenges of getting back to school once you've left sort of midstream, and now you have a family and all sorts of other challenges, and you're in a classroom with people who are a lot younger than you are. It's really impressive to hear how determined they are that they're going to make it all the way through and be out and be part of the world.
And we're going to continue the discussion after the break. We're going to talk in a little bit more detail about that connection between the network and Safe Futures, and how that started and what it means in the phenomenal amount of money that we've raised with it. It boggles my mind. So we're going to take a little break here, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes, so stay with us.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year, I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
And we're back. Today, our guests are Millie Divine, Kathleen O'Breine, and Emma Palzere-Rae, and we're talking about the Southeastern Connecticut Women's Network, and we're also talking about Safe Futures and the connection that's called Pathway to a Safe Future. I do want to get in one more thing before we move on to the connection between these two organizations, which is the Heron Award, which I think it was 3 years ago. I think I went into shock when I heard my name called. I was in the middle of talking to somebody and I went, did she say my name? Kathleen, when did you start that and why? Why did you start it?
Well, I started giving the Great Blue Heron Award to honor women's leadership, actually 19 years ago.
Wow.
It's hard to believe. And in those years, there have been 17 recipients, all of whom have been remarkable women who are doing exciting things. And it grew out of the research I was doing on the shorebirds and how they represent the ways that people behave in the workplace. And the Great Blue Heron is my heroine or my hero. And the interesting thing is that only the herons know who's a girl and who's a boy. So it's really kind of fun. You can't tell, and most ornithologists cannot tell. So it's a wonderful symbol for leadership. And the heron is a creature who stands tall, is collegial, rarely is in a tiff with anybody. And in fact, interestingly enough, the only occasions on which, and they stand 48 inches tall, so they're almost the size of a short woman, shall we say. The only recorded incidents of their being aggressive was when Audubon's dog chased one.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, can you believe? And the heron knew exactly where to hit him on the top of the head and killed him instantly.
Oh my
And
goodness.
there's been a human version of that, where some human was stupid enough to try and chase a heron. And so they're just big and tall and peaceful, basically, and very patient, and they fish in very deep waters, so they're not competing for all that little stuff that other people are. And so it's fun to look around as you look at the people you encounter in the Women's Network and see who fits that profile in remarkable ways. And so it's been a fun award to give, and you'll die laughing because my source of heron pins, which is what the award is, had dried to a fare thee well. And I was whining to the board saying, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue to give this award because I can't find any more pins. And the next day, the Smithsonian Magazine arrived at our house with indeed somebody who could do that. And two of them emailed me and said, here are the links to people who can provide heron pins. So I guess I'm going to have to keep going on this for a while.
You know, I think it's a wonderful tradition that you've started, though. I mean, it means, I know what it meant to me.
Well, and I have to be honest and say it wasn't my idea that an individual in the Women's Network could give her own award. Barbara Reed Collins had surprised me the preceding year with her own concocted plaque for something that she decided she wanted to recognize. And she and I had been partners in that library outreach, and I think that's what prompted it. But how sweet of her to just say, yes, the network does Woman of the Year, which we've been doing for many years. And again, a remarkable collection of women. But for Barbara to just decide, I can give an award. So after I had received it, I thought, I can give an award. So 17 of the rest of you can also be.
Wow.
We're expecting the next year that the first recipient would just get their own award.
Would be nice.
Start a new tradition.
Well, I think it's wonderful, and I want to say thank you for that, because
you're very
it means
welcome.
so much to so many of us to receive that kind of recognition, because most of the women in our organization are not looking for recognition as such. We're just looking to make a mark, to make things better, to help people to fulfill our own goals and destinies, and make some really good friends in the meantime. And that just adds something that is just a wonderful feeling. You know, I think I was walking around with a silly little smile on my face probably for weeks after that, and wearing my heron pin, which occasionally I put on, and I say, this is a blue heron.
Like me.
Yes, like me. So another thing that we've been mentioning off and on here that the network does is work with this wonderful group, Safe Futures, which we've had on our show a couple of times. And Emma, why don't you just tell us again who Safe Future is?
Safe Futures is New London County's domestic violence and sexual assault service provider. We save lives, restore hope, and change the future for 6,000 victims of domestic violence and sexual assault every year right here in Southeastern Connecticut. So we're pretty busy, but we not only help people at their biggest time of crisis, we help them build a new life, and then we also have great effort to prevent violence by teaching education, working with young people, giving them skills to recognize their own emotions and how to handle them, how to react nonviolently, and how to reach out and help friends to be an upstander and not a bystander if they see a friend being bullied, or as they get older have friends who are in unhealthy relationships.
And it's a necessary and very wonderful organization. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Women's Network has had this wonderful relationship with you. And recently saying 10 years ago, was it?
Well, it'll be 11 now because we discovered it a year ago. Right? It's been a year. That's true. Yeah. Well, I'll give you a little background. Last August, Millie was the luncheon speaker, and she showed her story. And it's been nice, like the last couple summers. One of the summer lunches kind of put women in the workplace in perspective. I think Keisha did that yesterday a little bit, as she was talking about women in sports and pre-Title IX and all that. A couple summers ago, there was a mother-daughter lunch, and we all just kind of
a lot of the Girl Scouts came.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but last August, Millie spoke and showed the DVD, and the DVD talks in great length about the relationship between Safe Futures and the Women's Network. And at that time, the network had just completed a project selling bricks to create a walkway leading up to our building, which was being renovated at the time. And the brick sales paid for the renovation of the Counseling and Advocacy Center. So that was a big part of the video, and people just kind of all, several people came up to me and said, gee, can we still get bricks? Or how do you get a brick? And a couple other board members were getting that same question. And the light bulb just kind of went off. It was just an obvious, natural thing to do, to say, oh, well, maybe we should sell bricks again, And I had been thinking about it and researching a little bit. I have a file in my drawer and saying, well, when would be the right time for us to, we have this real estate here that we can use to raise money. And then, we just kind of kept brainstorming, and we said, well, would it be perfect to honor Millie for founding the organization by this campaign? And Connie Plessman, who has a board position of being the Safe Futures liaison, and I went to meet with Millie and kind of shared the idea and said, what do you think? Would this be okay with you? And would you like it to be for a capital project or whatever? And she said, no, you need an endowment.
Permanent endowment.
Well, you would know.
Trust officer that you are.
Exactly. Yes.
And it just was amazing. Everybody has just been so on board, and everything came together so quickly that we had that conversation in August. We launched it November 1st. And to date, we've raised, in just over 7 months, over $50,000.
Which
for the
is
endowment, which is just unbelievable.
It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, it's just
when I heard about that, I said, what?
Yeah.
How quickly? Because that's really amazing.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah.
And particularly when we continue to have an economy that is just sort of muddling. So for people to reach in and do that was...
Yeah, and a couple organizations stepped up to the plate with some large gifts, and we had a little reception, and what was that, February or March? We had a reception
one in
for people
February,
that had-
yes.
Yeah.
We had one November 1st when we kicked it off, and then another one in February.
Yeah, and so we'll be placing an order of bricks soon and getting those put in this summer, and hopefully September we'll have a little ribbon cutting or something to celebrate. But it's really just been an amazing show of support, not only for Safe Futures, but just, again, women helping women and empowering each other. And what these funds will do will really, help Safe Futures be able to plan and know that there's some security and funds there that
and Emma,
keep us going.
That's a part that I think a lot of people don't deeply understand, that they believe that some kind of stream of funding comes and that you have some sort of bedrock that you've got going every year, and the truth is that can be very variable. And so having this endowment will be able to kind of lay that foundation that you always have at least that to work from.
Yeah.
Because there have been years where you've been very much like this.
Yeah, and people often think that domestic violence shelters are government funded, and that's true. Our emergency shelter has a good amount of funding that's fairly secure with the government, although nothing's secure with government funding these days either. So, government funding only is just under half of what we need to operate every year, because our programs are so vast. We have transitional living, which gives a family up to 2 years roughly to really rebuild their lives in a new community very often, starting from scratch. We have people in supportive housing and scattered apartments throughout New London County, our education programs, our counseling center. But, to Kathleen's point, this year, as long as I've been with the agency, right, since the economic troubles in 2008, 2009, every year has been budget time. What can we keep doing? What might we have to let go of? And this year, we could say, okay, what are we going to add? So, we've had to, 3 summers ago, close our Norwich Counseling and Advocacy Office, which is a critical service, because if you're a victim of domestic abuse and not living close to New London, getting services, there's that added challenge of if you have somebody counting the miles on your car or tracking you with GPS, you're not going to be able to leave Norwich to go to New London to get the help that you need. So having a presence in Norwich is extremely important. And 2 falls ago, we, with the help of Bacchus Hospital, they gave us some space. We were able to open on Monday and Fridays. And any day now we'll be adding Wednesday, because we had the funds to do that this year. So,
that is wonderful.
So it's critically important. But because we have secure funding that we can say we know this is coming in, through the endowment and through our other society members, that it's really changed the picture of what we can do for victims in our community. So,
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
exciting.
amazing.
It is. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody who's watching is interested in buying a brick, who do they call?
Well, they can go right to the Women's Network website has a link, and our website right on the homepage, which is safefuturesct.org. There is a link to the form.
That's
so
fantastic.
You can print it out and send it in.
And Marilyn, we wanted to make sure that people understood that the public is welcome to come to our luncheons. You will often see them announced in the newspaper under the business briefs, but they're the third Wednesday of each month at 11:30 at Holiday Inn in New London. And we recommend that you come twice and then, as we say, make a membership decision, and we hope that they would choose to join. But for example, yesterday with Nikisha Sales speaking, there were many people who had come for the very first time because they were intrigued by the speaker. And then once there, they're intrigued by the environment that they find themselves in. So,
and those
welcome
luncheons
to
are
come.
always extremely high energy.
Oh, yes. I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, you walk in the room and you can feel the energy and the
It's the
power.
fastest hour and a half of your week, right? It just zooms by.
And it runs like clockwork.
And you know, it's not just a chance to network and feel that fellowship. You get a chance to, there is a table for members to put their information out. And of course, we always encourage people to exchange cards and service ideas and see if you can help other people in the room.
And one great thing too that's been started in the last couple years is right the first 15 minutes of the luncheon, off in a corner of the room is a member benefits session. So if you're visiting or a new member, people can go and kind of hear really why they should join the network or what they can really, fully maximize their membership.
And you know, to my mind, there's so many organizations out there. There are a ton of business networking organizations. This, the membership for this is only $70 a year.
75.
They're 75, sorry. Get that going back to 2005. Okay. 75 a year. I mean, that's really nothing when you think about everything that's available, everything that's offered by this organization. And with each new president, each new board, as we get new, fresh ideas coming in, we see more and more offerings as far as helping one another, additional chances to have to meet other people. And I do know that a lot of the members get together on their own too, because they've developed that relationship. And it's just a wonderful, important thing. And we do have members from beyond the shoreline. We have members from north of Norwich, west of Westerly, and even Middletown, maybe. I think there was someone from Middletown. And for them to come all that way, it must mean something. Because and that's
and some members just know the benefit of, even if they're coming to lunch sporadically, they get their ad in here on the website. They have the directory to use as their own resource. So
and that's valuable. Pretty much at every luncheon, the current president will mention, remember to use this book for your first selection of someone that you need, some service that you need.
And that directory is on our website as well. So
there's actually
those who have gotten away from using books or Rolodex or
I like my Rolodex.
I do too.
But yes, and that's a good point, that the public at large can certainly go on and see who's a member of the Women's Network and select from those members for the services they need.
And the newsletters are also posted, and that's full of information on who's moving positions, who's new members, that kind of information. And then the type of programs and speakers that we have. We do have quite a few of our members that have been speakers. I know, And I don't know if it's going to be a practice every year, but I think it was a really wonderful thing to have the nonprofit tables. What was it, a couple of months ago, 2-3 months ago?
February or March, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of a fair during our social time to go around and see who some of the members are. Habitat for Humanity and Hospice and a number of Girl Scouts, a number of the others to get to kind of showcase their particular
and what was
certainly
nice,
say futures.
But, nonprofits that have members, but also members who are on boards, or you know, so it kind of was really neat to see who was involved in what. But,
I think the plan is to repeat that. It was very successful.
I hope so. I hope so. It was.
And a couple months out of the year too, there's instead of having a speaker where everybody's sitting and listening, there's a networking activity where people are really getting up and moving around the room, or maybe it's assigned seats, so you will get to meet different people and work on something together. So the programming's been, just always gets better and better, I think.
I think it does too. And of course, we always love the Christmas program.
Yankee swap with 90 women.
It can get a little crazy.
But it's that's definitely longer than the hour and a half.
Right. Yeah, it really is. But so much fun, so much fun. And you know, quite a few of the women I've overheard conversations of them saying, well, you know, I'm a member of this organization, I'm a member of this organization, but I never have as much fun as when I come here. And you know, that says a lot too. That fun element. There are a lot of smiles in the room.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of smiles in the room. And I've also yesterday. I had someone that I had a chance to speak to at the luncheon, and when she'd walked away, I thought, my God, she's crabby today. I wonder what's wrong with her. I gave her a hug, but it didn't seem to help. Later on, she came over, and she says, I'm okay now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was just so crabby. I've just been under so much pressure and strain, and I'm better now. And I thought, there, okay, you got fixed.
Well, we did, you're talking about wordsmith, we did an exercise at the board retreat a year ago, and what came out of that is spark, ignite, empower. And that's kind of a tagline we're using for the network, and I think it's very appropriate.
I like it.
I like that.
Spark, ignite,
empower.
and empower. Very, I like the spark.
We were supposed to choose one word, and you couldn't see what rebels we had.
Wow.
When you have too many women,
you have three. Well, you know, there is a trend out there to use 3 words for your business, 3 benefit words or 3 phrases. So it's okay to have 3 words, especially if they fit. They should fit. So,
well, like Community Coalition for Children, helping children thrive.
There's 3 words for you. And we have to have you on the show about that.
Oh, I'm going to look forward to that.
We're going to work on that, folks, because helping children, I mean, they are our future. And we want to make sure they have a safe future, which is safe futures help so many children. You know, the video that was, gosh, when did we do
for
that?
A couple years.
Yeah, for the rebranding. That was a couple years ago now, 3 years ago.
Well, no, it'll be 2 years in September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And there were some children on that, and it just touches your heart, because you know, we forget. Our society has a lot of problems, unfortunately, in relationships. Some people say it's the stress in life, the fact that mom and dad have to work so hard, and there's just, you know, financial problems, marriage is falling apart, the family unit, you know, still not being as strong as it used to, except in our house. I mean, our family's just fine. Grammy actually lives with, I live with my daughter, son-in-law, and my grandchildren.
Wow.
Just like they used to, you know, like the Walton family. And, I mean, it was a circumstance, you know. I couldn't work for a year, I couldn't walk for a year, and so they brought me into their home, as they should have. And And gosh, it worked out so well. I mean, not everybody can do that.
Right.
But that is almost an extreme today, unfortunately. And to have organizations like yours that help families that do have so many problems. And it's just, we got to buy bricks, people, okay? Keep this pathway to a safe future going strong, okay?
And the brick can, what's great about the bricks is they can have an inspirational phrase on them, they can recognize a business, they could honor or remember somebody close to you. And actually, we're, thanks to Millie, also putting a granite bench that will say, be not afraid. And that will be near the walkway so people can sit on the bench and be inspired by the support and inspiration that will be on the walkway as they are coming or going from our counseling centers. So,
or if we get there earlier, I've shown up sometimes a little bit early and the doors are still locked, and so now I would have a place to sit. How wonderful is that? Oh gosh, is there anything else about the organization that you would like to make sure that we get in before the end of the show? Anything else that we have not?
Just give us a try. You can also, we have a Facebook page, and the network website is all updated. So there's a lot of information on there, and you can reserve for the luncheon. Come enjoy us and give us a try, but we do want you to reserve.
Oh, yes, yes, that's very important, people.
So.
Now, there's the Safe Futures hotline phone numbers, so that is also important to keep in mind. I've just got a couple of minutes left. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a lot of fun.
It has been
just
fun.
like the network usually is. It's a lot of fun. And a great cause with Safe Futures. Just keep it going. I do have a couple of announcements, and as always, if you have an announcement that you'd like us to talk about, an event coming up, let us know. If you are a nonprofit or a charitable organization, we would be very happy to make the announcement to our viewers. We've got the Shoreline Roller Derby, not easy to say sometimes. On July 26th, they've got their doubleheader event coming up. I think I talked about that before, the summer shoving and food drive event. It's going to be at the Galaxy Roller Rink in Groton, Connecticut. And I'm looking for a phone number or a website, and there isn't one. But you can go to, just Google it, Shoreline Roller Derby, and they'll have the information there. Also, the 57th Annual Mystic Outdoor Art Festival. Talk about fun.
Oh, that's fabulous.
It is, and I'm on the committee again this year, working with the artists and everything. And it's going to be, we're going to have great weather. Okay, the order's been placed for Saturday, August 9th, and Sunday, August 10th. And you can find out more information on the Chamber's website at mysticchamber.org. And you can also sign up to be a friend of the festival for $100. I did that, and I'm very proud to be a friend. And we're going to have them on our next show, actually. And so I think we're just about right on the mark. How good are we? Thank you so much for joining us today. And we will see you next time.